Welcome back to the Strength and Speed Podcast. I'm your host, Conquer The Gauntlet Pro Team Athlete, Evan Perperis, and joining me is my co-host, Brenna Calvert.
Hello, everybody. Feels like it's been a while.
It has been a while since we've recorded an episode, but we are back, and this episode is brought to you by Hylete. Hylete makes some functional fitness apparel. I just got a pair of their shorts and their pants, and they are like the softest things ever. I wore them after my recent Toughest Mudder race, and they are so soft. They also make some pretty awesome stuff, some backpacks, which if you've ever seen me at an OCR, I always have my Hylete backpack on it because it has like 1,000 pockets that you can put pretty much everything in, including a pocket that's all like lined with reflective material, so it's like a cooler pocket. It's awesome. Brenna, what are your thoughts on Hylete?
I love Hylete myself. I will second you on the backpack conversation because I have used that everywhere now. Now that I live on the road, I basically live out of my Hylete backpack. So can't say enough about that. And then literally shorts, shirts, I mean, you name it, they have it, and it's functional, comfortable, and looks good at the same time. So everybody check them out. Worth the investment for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, so this episode is just Brenna and I. We're going to be covering some of the recent races we've done, some of our thoughts on them, how we performed, and, kind of lessons learned and stuff like that. We're actually both not at our home normal recording place, so hopefully the sound sounds good as this records. I am in lovely Reno, Nevada. I'm sitting in a hotel in like a penthouse suite. It is pretty awesome. There's a hot tub in my room, like not in the bathroom. It's in my room. Like it's like 3 feet behind me as I'm recording this. Brenna, where are you at?
On the flip side of that, I love Evan so much, but I hate him at the same time because I'm living the life of build crew for Conquer the Gauntlet, which, again, I love it. We are here in Dallas. Today was our first day of course clearing for our Dallas event on June 3rd, but I am in the quite opposite. I'm in the Motel 6 Micro Inn, sharing a room with 2 boys, so I am in my hallway recording this episode.
Classy. Always keeping it classy, Brenna. I appreciate it.
Yes, you know me. That's why y'all love me.
So, like we said, we haven't recorded an episode in a while, but we've been putting out consistent content because a lot of times we record them and then push them out at a later date. Brenna, did you get a chance to listen to the Strongman episode with Cal Beck?
I did a little bit. I actually was on the road and listened to kind of clicked forward and back and forth on that. Tracy and I were on the road and listened to that one together, which is awesome. I love listening to them when I'm not on it. It's great because it's still informative and exciting to have all the different athletes from different sports and different avenues of our industry.
Yeah, I really like that episode. It's actually doing really well. It's got a lot of downloads despite it being the newest episode we released. I want to touch on like 2 things from the episode, kind of my favorite thing and my least favorite thing he said. I'd say my favorite thing, so we were talking about grippers, and he's talking about how training with grippers is not the best idea because it actually teaches your muscle memory to squeeze real hard and then let go, right, which is the opposite we want to do for obstacle course racing. You want to be able to grab onto something and hold. So I really like that he brought that up. So if you are training with grippers, I just kind of want to reemphasize that. You should be practicing squeezing and then holding, just like you would on a rig, right? You're not going to grab onto a bar for a second and then let go. You're going to hold it even for a couple seconds as you transition. So if you're training with grippers, I thought that's a great piece of advice.
Definitely a good point to remember because, yeah, we pretty much are the opposite. We want to kind of hold on for dear life for the whole time.
Yeah. And I'd say the one thing I didn't like that he said, so strongman is a strength sport, and it is, it's built on extremes, and people want to see essentially the freak show, right? So he seemed kind of, a little more ambivalent on drug use, which I am, violently opposed to. I don't want to have to take drugs to compete, and I think OCR in general is I think the majority of the athletes are clean, even at the elite level. I think if somehow we could tell everyone, everyone's drug test history, I think you'd be surprised that, some of the people who are probably, quote unquote, cheating are probably not the top guys. They're probably, sub-top. And, if I was testing people, I would test, obviously, the podium athletes first, and then I would test the masters athletes, right? Because, testosterone replacement therapy and hormone replacement therapy is kind of a common thing now, or more of a common thing, but it's still cheating. So, wasn't crazy about some of his responses to that, but, yeah, kind of everyone has their own opinion.
I would say I agree, and I feel like it's kind of, I don't know, unfortunately it's like sport by sport basis, which you would think just athletes in general would all just want to be the best they can be naturally. But unfortunately nowadays there's just so many different sports that top athletes that you wouldn't expect or you would hope to, like the ones you look up to, come to find out aren't performing all natural. And unfortunately that's a bummer to hear. And I mean, this probably wasn't on our little like list of topics, but that's bringing up drug use or anything like that is the whole just, it was brought up recently, just like the IV hydration or rehydration or anything like that for OCR. It kind of floats around and everybody has their opinion, yay, nay, whatever. But again, I'm kind of agree with you. You definitely have strong opinions against it, but I agree that I think it's kind of like it's a boost that you're using and shouldn't be. I mean, I don't take many supplements really at all. I'm not even like a pre-workout, post-workout type of person myself. I just kind of like go off my natural abilities or inabilities, and I'm fine with that. And my weaknesses are my weaknesses that I need to work on, not to take something to supplement and make better or stronger with additives or whether it's healthy or all natural in my opinion. But everybody has their opinions really for that. But that's just me saying, hey, I like my beers and that's my natural. Like I do my thing. I don't add drugs in the mix to make myself better.
I think you're pretty high spirits, Brenna. So I think you use your natural like chipperness to motivate you through races.
Exactly. Unfortunately, it didn't work for me recently, but hey, that's for later.
So commenting on the IV thing, so IVs are banned by World Anti-Doping Agency and the United States Anti-Doping Agency. So, whether if you're competing and qualifying for OCRWC, racing at OCRWC, World's Toughest Mudder, pretty much any obstacle course race that's giving out money, there's usually written in the rules, must abide by WADA and USADA standards, and IVs are banned. There's not a gray area, like they are 100% banned. It doesn't matter if all you're injecting is saline solution, which is essentially like basically water and electrolytes. Just the taking of an IV, I think it's greater than 50 milliliters, which is essentially like a cup of water, not even. So that's 100% listed as banned. It's not, like I said, not a gray area. If you want more information, I wrote an article on it, a mud run guide. It's called a Mud Run Guide, Already Off Track for Drug Testing. So if you want to know more about that, check it out. It's got references and stuff like that. So anyway.
Well, I feel like adding to that real quick, I just feel like people don't even realize that something as simple as a saline solution, like a little bit, is that. Because, I mean, you're basically putting a needle in your arm and getting it directly rather than, say, like drinking a saline solution or electrolytes. I mean, it's totally different effect. I mean, it's basically through your bloodstream in a quicker fix, and that's, again, cheating or illegal in our sport. So people that do it they might not realize it. So pay attention, be knowledgeable, educate yourself, everybody. That's very important.
Yeah, and people are like, well, why is it banned if all you're injecting is saline solution? And a couple of reasons. One, they say that, increasing that blood volume very rapidly before your body has time to process it can actually help you perform better. So there's like a performance enhancing side to it. There's also a dilution enhancing side to it. So if you are taking performance enhancing drugs, by pushing all that IV fluid into your body, it dilutes your blood and thus dilutes some of the markers that they're looking for when they're drug testing. So one of the ways they test for cyclists for erythropoietin, EPO, or blood doping, which is essentially you take out your blood and put your own blood back in at a later date, so you have more red blood cells, so you can transport more oxygen, is they test something called your hematocrit level. So hematocrit is number of red blood cells per volume of blood. And, they set an upper limit, and one of the ways people were getting around the drug testing was, all right, so you're above the upper limit during the competition, you push an IV immediately post-race, and it drops that hematocrit level lower below the quote-unquote legal limit. So it's used to hide other drugs, basically, by dilution is the concept. So
exactly. Just don't do it, people.
And then the other thing is, right, so if there's already a needle in your arm and you want to take banned substances, like it's too easy essentially to inject the other banned substances into the bag, right? And everything's just flowing in at that point. So banned. Anyway, let's go back. Enough on PED use. Let's talk about recent races. Let's talk about recent races. So let's start off with we're gonna run through a couple. We recently did Savage Race Georgia. I did Warrior Dash, Toughest Mudder, both South and Northeast, and Conquer the Gauntlet Atlanta. So we're gonna be kind of touching on a little bit on all of those races in this episode. So let's start off with Savage Race. Brenna,
good one.
Yeah, Brenna, that was a good one for you, Brenna. Let's I guess share your thoughts on Savage Race, and then I'll kind of share mine.
Oh yeah. So for those, I feel like it's amazing. Savage Race, to me, I still keep hearing people that have not done Savage Race. And again, you had not done Savage Race until Atlanta, correct?
Correct. That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me call you out. Okay. But that's just amazing because Savage Race brings in astronomical numbers. The other, they're just up there with the quote unquote top 3 or big 3 or whatever people say. But back when everybody was gung ho about Battle Frog when they were still around, and Savage Race was always, they were up there as my top race series to go to. They put on epic events. Lloyd and Sam for Savage Race are amazing. Bo, their head course designer, love the crew, love the family. Again, it's run by 2 brothers, and just everything about them. Their courses are epic. Their obstacles are amazing, larger than life obstacles, and they mix in things that are tough for competitors and elites. They throw in grip strength, and then they have your fun aspect to it, which is a big water slide down the back of their warped wall tile obstacle, and fun things to crawl through tubes that are teeter-totter tubes. And they've been mixing it up and every year evolving and bringing on new obstacles, and I feel like they've just every year upped their game, whether it be through their media outlets and their coverage, and now their live coverage on race day. They have a drone that goes around the course, and they follow the elites and the open waves and the start line and the festival. And so, you can't go wrong with Savage, in my opinion. Their start line MC, Matty T, I think is his name. Amazing, pumps you up, great, fun start, and yeah, so all that's fun. And again, I'm amazed at people that haven't done it, especially you, Evan. I just couldn't believe you hadn't done it. So I'm glad you have now. But
they were mostly on the East Coast, and I was in Kansas City before this year, so it didn't line up with my schedule. And again,
and that's what they do, amazing Florida events. I think their Florida event, they do 2 a day, the whole weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and the numbers they get there, it's just great following. And yeah, starting with Savage Georgia, that was their spring event. They actually do 2 in Georgia. They do a spring and a fall, and I try to make both of those. And I've been doing those events in Georgia for 3-4 years now, almost, since that was my second OCR ever was Savage Race. After I did Spartan, I went to Savage and ran that for fun and fell in love with it. And at that point, I wanted to get the axe from Georgia, because first place, male and female elite, you get this amazing, really, it's a wood carved axe, and it's on a big old plaque, and it's got the specific date and venue, and it's really cool. It's just one of those things to stick on your wall with all the other junk I collect.
Has it always been a wood carved axe, or was it a real axe at one point?
If I'm not mistaken, I remember back in the day, before they even had mandatory obstacle completion, they were still giving out the axe before they gave out money in elites and pro division and all that. It was separate. It wasn't on a plaque, and I want to say it might have been real or not all wood. It might have had a real head to it and then a wood. I don't know. It was different than what it is now.
Okay.
But
I always thought it was a real axe until the race, and then I saw it it up close. I was like, oh, it's wooden. Still cool,
Yeah, well,
but it's just not what I was expecting.
Well, that's so funny you said that because I just went home, to one of my other homes in Virginia, and my boyfriend Tracy was with me, and he saw my 2 axes that I have, and he's like, "They're not even a real axe." I was like, "No, it's way cooler. It's a wooden carved axe, and I don't know, it's an interesting thing to travel with." Our teammate Ashley Samples had to go home with one or fly home with one, I think, at one point or another, so it's interesting for sure. But just a cool thing to collect, and that's just for first and place male and female, and then they have podium awards for second and third place. And then Savage Race is actually a really amazing event to do age group awards. I mean, the amount of bling, quote unquote, that you can collect at a Savage Race, you get your finisher medal, and then, if you podium, you get a specific gold, silver, bronze medal for that. Plus, if you get first, you get the axe. And then you can also get age group awards. So they do age group bronze, gold, silver medals specific too. So, I mean, you can collect some major bling from a Savage Race. And then they now have the Savage Syndicate medal.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that thing's like that thing's huge, and it spins, and you get pins for every state. So, like, it's basically if you've run multiple events. So your first one would be Georgia, and then you go and do, say, Houston or Florida. Then after that second event, you get a pin for Georgia, and you get a pin for the next event, and you basically collect the state pins on the lanyard for the giant medal with a spinner. And I mean, for the people who are quote unquote medal whores or bling collectors or whatever, Savage Race is where you need to go because it's amazing. And who doesn't like extra medals and all that fun stuff to show your ranking and how well you did. So, but I mean, that's just, I mean, I haven't even gotten into very much of it, but Atlanta still, I'm very sad to say, I still do not have a Georgia axe. Something happens every event, and I always feel like one day I'm not gonna quit OCR until I get an axe from Georgia.
Yeah, that's the way I felt about Conquer the Gauntlet for all of last year. I kept coming up like so close, I have a bad day or something would happen on the course, and it's like every race it was like second, third, second, and fourth, I think another third, and then I finally won the last one of the year, the Conquer the Gauntlet XTC, Extreme Timber Challenge race. So that was nice.
Some people are probably listening like, gosh, you two, I mean, you're only after the awards. It's like, no, I mean, once you do so many events, you have these different goals in mind, and so I laugh and giggle because I thankfully have been lucky enough to place first at Savage, Ohio, and Chicago. So I do have in my possession, I have 2 axes, but I want Georgia because that was my home and the beginning of it for me. And I want the Texas axe. I want either Dallas or Houston just because those are my homes. And they've slipped out of my hands multiple times.
And I mean, those goals didn't start off that way, right? Like, so if you're on your first Conquer the Gauntlet, most people's goal is just to finish with their band, and then you finish with your band, so you're like, all right, well, I need to step up the goal, so maybe it's top 10, and then maybe it's, age group win or age group podium, and then it's overall podium, and then it's over, so it's a sliding scale.
Exactly. I mean, as an athlete, that's what, most people, you're doing it for fun, which I do it for fun, and then, I have personal goals. So, yeah, like you said, I started out doing Savage Race Open Wave, and then after Open, I competed Elite, or their Pro Division, and I think I got, I was Georgia, actually. I got so excited, because I was like, okay, this is my chance. I might actually have a chance, I knew the competition was coming, and then all of a sudden, Claude showed up in Georgia. I'm like, really? Canadian Claude shows up in Georgia? And I had no idea, and I took second place to her, and I was just like, oh. They handed the axe to me to pass on to her, and I just looked at her, and I was like, oh, here you go. I love you, Claude, but darn it. It was so close.
If you don't know, Claude Godbout, she was on episode, I think, 3 or 4, something like that. You can go back and listen to her. She's a Spartan World Champion, dating Marco Bedard, Olympic biathlete / professional obstacle course racer / owner of the Northman race as of this year.
So I've been close, and then again I've had many moments of like I did Savage Georgia, their fall one last year, and flopped and messed up podium contention on that. I had like 2 really bad events of Savage Race. So it was the fall Georgia and the Houston fall Savage Race, where I was in a really good place, and bombed it at the end. Savage Georgia fall, I was like second or third, and then completely didn't even keep my band by the end of it. Same with, even worse in Houston, I was up against Alexander Walker, and I basically love her to death, but I smoked the course. I was in first place like the entire race, and then I got to the second last obstacle with the finish line like 100 yards in sight and bombed it again, which I've been known to do, and I didn't even keep my band. So I went from first place to like not even keeping my band at that event. So I went out with a vengeance this year, and was happy to have you there for your first Savage race at the Atlanta event in the spring, and I was very thankful enough to finally get back on the podium there, and I managed with stiff competition again. I believe it was Alex Walker and Jamie Stiles from Florida. Alex and I are Texas girls, but I managed to get third place with the two of them up there in another tough event. There was competition. I think Tiffany Palmer from Spartan came out and showed up, and it was a tough course, but I was very happy to get back to the podium after two no banding events. And again, I wanted the axe, but still don't have it. So, but it was, I love Savage in so many ways. And this year they've added new obstacles that are definitely, I mean, that event, you were there, so you know, I mean, they had some like grip intense obstacles thrown in there that just kind of like zapped you and took it all out of you. So,
yeah, what I really liked about their obstacles was as a standalone. So if you take any one of their obstacles and ask someone to do it, I think most, competitive OCR athletes would not have a problem with any one of them by itself. But when you put them in succession of each other, it definitely wore you down over the course of the course. Yeah. It wore you down, over the event. That was my first race back, my first short race back after I tore part of my pec early this year. So I was a little worried I was going to re-tear something, because you're moving fast, and aggressively since it's a shorter race. Didn't have any issues really. On Tree Hugger, when I reached, I could feel like my pec pulling, like the scar tissue pulling, but it didn't, it was fine there. And then actually, on that very last one, the Colossus, it's like a warped wall into like a slide. I get up to the warped wall and I go to pull myself up, and because I haven't been training back as much as I normally do, my back muscles just wouldn't work. It was I went to pull and nothing happened, and I was like, what is going on? This is not this does not happen to me. I'm not used to this. When I pull on something, I go up. So it was a couple seconds of panic as I was I'm about to slide back down this wall, which is going to be super embarrassing.
Also, how did you end up finishing at that one?
I ended up just muscling through it, and I finished 10th overall. So
nice.
I was
and that's good because Atlanta always brings a stacked field. I mean, Yuri Force has, I'm very wrong, I'd say 30, but no, the most amount of axes ever, and
I think he's got 19 or something.
Yeah, that was the race where there was a little accident there at the end.
Yeah, so at the end, for those of you who missed the live feed, it was Yuri Force and who was he?
Was it Ryan Woods, I think, right?
It was Ryan Woods, yeah. Yuri Force and Ryan Woods, they both come down Colossus simultaneously, end up in the pool. They're literally 10 yards from the finish, and Ryan Woods goes straight through the pool towards the finish. Yuri Force exits essentially the side of the pool and runs on land through the finish. So they end up knocking him back to, I think, 4th place.
Yeah, because he had to go back and do the obstacle again, right?
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
Yeah, because the rules, it was a big to do because I don't think either it hadn't happened or something hadn't been addressed, and they basically had to thank goodness for live feed and this new coverage because they had to go back and look at it and then go to the rules, and at this point Yuri just had to go do the obstacle again, and poor thing, but I mean, I'll never do that again, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean I think it's generally against the spirit of the obstacle, exiting the side and then running on land.
Right.
Do I think Yuri Force was purposely cheating? No. I mean, the guy's won so many events. He knows what he's doing. He saw it was going to be close, made a tactical decision to get out the side. Turns out it was against the rules. I don't think there was any ill will on his behalf, or he was trying to cheat or whatever. I know some people were kind of being harsh on Facebook People
I
are
was
really
gonna say,
harsh.
yeah, he got like kind of reamed on Facebook for it, but again, it was one of those like, if many people that know Yuri and have raced with him know, I mean, A, he doesn't need to cheat, and B, the camera was on him and he knew it at the finish line, so it's not like he would cheat. If he was going to cheat, why would you cheat right there at the finish line with the camera watching you?
Right,
Like,
the camera's watching there, everyone's watching. It's the first two
Yeah.
guys across, you know. So,
and even his wife said that. I mean, she saw him come down that wall like harder and the slide part of it, you know, faster and crazier than he ever has. Like, it was just, I mean, they were neck and neck. They were fighting, and I think Ryan Woods, if I'm not mistaken, is the only person that has beat Yuri at Savage Race. So it was
previously
yeah,
you're talking?
Yeah,
I
I
can
think
see that.
so. And so I think they, you know, they had this competition where Yuri was just like, oh man, like I can't let him beat me again, and then just in the heat of the moment, race brain, you know, you do things without thinking, and it got him, unfortunately. But that's what happens. That's why I love this sport for so many aspects. But there's just like little heat of the moment, crazy things that could change instantly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was Savage Race, but that was back in April.
Yeah, early April. It was like April 8th or something, or 10th.
Yeah,
So
that was good though. But I feel like that was the last good one recently.
So since then, I've done. I did a Warrior Dash in Tennessee a couple weeks, like 2 weeks later or something like that.
How'd that one go for you?
Good, very good. I was driving down there. It's like hurricane rain and winds, and I was like, I'm definitely driving down here just to turn around. This race is definitely going to be canceled. So it's like pouring. I was like, oh, I've wasted my morning. I get down there. It's like a delayed start. You know, they keep delaying the start. Eventually, the skies actually clear up, so they let us race. So I think the elite heat started at, I want to say 10:30 instead of 8.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of waiting around. It was at Milky Way Farms in Pulaski, Tennessee. So if you've done Tough Mudder, Tennessee, same location, or if you were at the Warrior Dash World Championship in 2015, the last year they did it, same location. So I think they actually had to reroute some of the course, which I thought was a very professional decision. I know some people were like, oh, well, there was only 10 obstacles instead of 12. And it's like, all right, well, you know, like any normal kind of running race would have just canceled their event. There would be no one would have gotten a chance to run, period. So
Right.
I thought the fact that they put it on was still remarkable.
Well, so explain to people, what do you do as like a competitor or any athlete? I mean, you're there warmed up, ready to go, or expecting to go at 8 a.m. So how do you like change, you know, mental and physically to prepare for waiting around 2 more hours? You know, are you thinking like, okay, just scratch it and go home, or you're like stick it out for a little bit longer, but then also, you know, your nutrition changes, your warm up, everything just changes at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I had a snack in the car. I stopped at Starbucks, got like a little sandwich on the way down. So I ended up also getting an oatmeal. So I ended up eating that a little bit later than I would have, because I knew it was going to be delayed at least a little bit. And then you just kind of wing it. I mean, there's not much you can do. The good thing is everyone's dealing with the same situation. So just because you're off your game doesn't mean everyone else is not off their game. So
Right. It's not like an unfair advantage. Everybody's at the same boat. So
yeah, if you let it bother you, then it becomes an advantage to your competitors, right? So
yeah,
you just kind of take it in stride, and they let us in. Race started. I stayed kind of in the top 5 there was like a big uphill at first, so probably for the first half mile I was in the top 5, and then the road flattened out, and I kind of turned on my speed and pulled away from the group, and then we started hitting obstacles, and I just kept pulling farther away, so I basically ran away with it. It was a good race for me, right? And I ended up winning. I ended up winning by a couple of minutes, which I was really happy with. But yeah, so.
Well, congratulations. That's always a good
Thank
feeling
you.
too, when it's not just like it's always fun to have that like push at the end or the close call, but then also when it's a nice, good couple minute cushion, it's like, all right, awesome, even better, because I kind of like smoked them.
And what was really cool about the event, or at least I thought it was cool, so you go out and the course kind of loops back onto itself, so you end up running back by where you started. And because they're running late, they end up releasing the waves a lot sooner than they would have normally. So by the time even I was, I think the race lasted for, under 30 minutes, right? By the time I'm coming back, the course is already crowded. So it was a lot of fun. So they were like, people are cheering you on, and then they actually had a guy on one of the 4x4s, one of the Gators, as like a pace car, which was cool too, to make sure I didn't get lost. So that was cool too. But yeah,
that always helps. Well, good.
And then,
so that was when was that? End of May? Oh, no, was that right after Savage?
Yeah, it was like end of April. I think some people look at Warrior Dash and they're like, well, they don't offer, as a pro or elite competitor, they don't offer prize money, so why should I do it? I think there's a couple of reasons. So the first one is just fun, right? Like, I love obstacle course racing. I think it's a good time. Warrior Dash is the event that got me started in obstacle course racing, so I still like to go back to them once a year and race just because I think it's a good time. Two, it's basically a running race, so the obstacles aren't hard. They're not really failable. So I think if you want to be well-rounded, you need to branch out. So you need to do a Warrior Dash to test your speed. You need to do Conquer the Gauntlet to test your obstacle proficiency. Maybe an endurance event to test your endurance. So it's all part of being well-rounded. Let's see, three, they still offer prize money. Or not prize money. They still offer prizes. So, I got my OCRWC qualification shirt. I got a free pair of Vibram 5-finger shoes, which are like $130. I got a free Warrior Dash entry again for a future race. So, that's cool.
Nice. That's actually, it's a good little,
it's a
little
good
pickup.
Yeah, and then I think the other thing people forget about, for those athletes that are on the higher level that are looking for sponsorship or have sponsorship, the benefits don't always come the day of the race. So if I win, let's say all I'm doing is Warrior Dashes and I win 5 of them or something, right? And I start applying for sponsorship, the likelihood of someone picking me up is higher versus if I say, hey, I went to Spartan NBC races and finished 50th, because it was a stacked field because it was all NBC races. Sponsors a lot of times don't understand the difference between a Warrior Dash event and a Spartan NBC race. To them it's just a race and there's 1,000 people there or whatever, however many thousand people there. So if you're wearing their logo at the event and you do well, that's good for them. So I think people sometimes forget about those second and third order benefits that come with doing well at, even non-monetary races. So just my 2 cents.
Well, and I was going to say that I like how we went from talking about Savage Race, how, like I'm going for the axe or these goals, and then you turn around and say, like, you're doing Warrior Dash because it's fun, and that's what started it for you, and you want to go back to your roots, and OCR is still all about having fun, and yes, as a pro or an elite, both of us, and knowing others and other competitors or open waivers, it's like, originally it started as fun for most of us, and then we started competing and getting into like crazy goals and different ideas of what we wanted to accomplish. But originally most of us were like, hey, this is a cool new thing and let's do it for fun. So we always kind of go back to what started it for us. And that's exciting because we might be competing and want money and sponsors and crazy axes and fun bling. But originally it's like, I just want to connect with more people having fun out there. And Warrior Dash is a great way to do that. Or another event, just going out and running for fun, going back out there on the course. So we love to be able to do that, both of us. I know you do, and myself.
Yeah, absolutely. But the most fun, obviously, was Conquer the Gauntlet Atlanta.
I almost can't even talk about it, but yes.
So the Conquer the Gauntlet Atlanta course, built by Brenna and Napalm and David Main Prize and Steven and the rest of the crew and Tracy and all you guys. If you saw my Facebook post, if you didn't see it, I'd go back and read it, but I thought it was literally the hardest 4 miles of OCR I've ever done. The race started, I started my watch, and 50 minutes later I finished, and I hadn't looked at my watch once. I didn't look at it for pacing, I didn't look at it for distance, because the entire time I was running my butt off, either trying to catch the guy in front of me, trying not to fall on the roots, or like through the technical terrain, or the mud, or trying to get across the obstacles, which as Conquer the Gauntlet, on par, were challenging, right? Especially that last one, there was a warped wall that was enormous. I have mixed feelings on it because it took me 4 tries to get over. But at the same time, Jay Flores got stuck there, who's in second, and I was in third. He got stuck there longer than I did, so I went from third to second at that race. But still required multiple attempts, so I have a love-hate relationship with the wall.
Yeah, I am. Oh, man. So, I mean, everybody knows me as Conquer the Gauntlet everything, and I don't know how many know that, like, this year I basically kind of forfeited racing Conquer the Gauntlet so that I could be on the other side of helping put on amazing races like this. And I still kick myself because I love my choice, but oh man, I wanted to race Atlanta so bad because everything about it. It was our second event of the season. It was our second new venue of the season, and I'm all about Atlanta. That's where it started for me, and getting it to Atlanta was like that was my baby for the year. It was just, let's go to Atlanta. We decided to do it as a team and a company, and then from there, I went to Atlanta like 3 or 4 different times promoting the event and getting people to sign up and getting the numbers there, and, you know, I brought in vendors, and Dave let me kind of roll with it. He's like, all right, Brenna, this is your baby, and even Steve in the beginning was like, all right, we'll go with it, but you know, it was like pressure. I was like, it's on you. Get it to happen. Get the people there. Make it awesome, and let's roll with it. And it exceeded my expectations just on every level. I mean, the feedback afterwards from the Gormers, the Georgia Obstacle Racer Mud Runner group family there, and people from Ohio, the Crazy Mudder Muckers, and MIT, and people from Florida, and people from Lone Star Spartans, and everybody that follows Conquer the Gauntlet came to Atlanta because it was a new venue. And everybody wanted to see what the rage was. You know, the word's been spreading about Conquer the Gauntlet, and finally they went a little bit further east than what they're used to. And so thankful because, again, I wanted to race that course because there was not a single flat spot. And I don't like hills. I'm not good on hills, but I can power and suffer with the best of them, and that's what that course was. I mean, it rained Friday. I'm pretty sure it rained, Friday before the event, and it was supposed to rain on Saturday, so we just kept thinking, oh my gosh, we've set up a gnarly course, and our obstacles are already tough, and the way we set them up made them a little bit tougher, and then I just kept thinking, oh geez, if it rains, we might not have a podium. It's like this, you know, it's happened before. Conquer the Gauntlet has had times where the podium's not full or whatever, and luckily the rain held off, but again, the course was just perfect in so many ways. The venue, it was at the West Georgia Mud Park out in Tallapoosa, Georgia. So it was west of the city, almost in Alabama, but it's like a big giant mud truck venue. And so it was perfect for the mud. It had hills. We took the people through the woods. I think there were 2 other events there prior to us. So we were the 3rd OCR that went to this venue, which is good because in Georgia, lots of races go there, but everybody goes to Conyers out the Olympic Park, you know, and they just overdo that venue, and so people kind of get bored with it. So we took a chance, and I'm so thankful because I haven't heard any negative about it. And again, the terrain was intense. And then I'm personally, so people think, you know, like I see the whole course or I build these courses, and so I know it backwards and forwards, but there are a crew of us, and I don't see every aspect all the time. I actually did not mark or see the entire course itself. I saw some of the obstacles placed, but it was funny. You can even watch my live video, and I was like, I think someone's lost over there. And Steve's like, nope, that's the right place. I'm like, okay, never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. But so I don't see the whole thing all the time, but it makes it even more exciting. And yeah, like you said, I mean, I felt bad, but then I also loved it. We kind of giggled as we were putting the course together. And I don't think bad of us, and we don't do it to be evil people, but we like to challenge you, and Conquer the Gauntlet is about pushing limits and challenging you, but people have fun while they're doing it. And we kept putting up obstacles, and I was like, how can we make this obstacle harder? Like laughing, but kind of in an evil, serious way. And we didn't do it to all of them, but some of our obstacles that are already tough, we were like, let's make them tougher, or ones that are easy. How can we make this harder? And, I mean, we sent y'all up a crazy hill, and then at the top of the hill was our Great Wall of America, which is a 12-foot wall.
So, yeah. You got to check out that picture of that from the bottom of the hill. Like, it's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's this giant wall at the top. Oh.
I think I came and caught you live. I remember, like, coming up the hill, and I was like, oh, there he is, scrambling up the hill. And, like, We wanted to make y'all carry logs. Like, there was a heavy carry, very heavy carry in it, but we thought for the elite wave, we were going to give all of y'all like a little tiny log just to carry and be annoying so that you couldn't scramble with both hands. But lucky for y'all. Yeah, we ran out of time, so you're lucky.
Yeah, I was on all fours going up that hill.
But I just loved it because we had people like from the crazy Muddermuckers that experienced it in Louisville last year, and unfortunately we did not go back there this year. So some of them came down to Atlanta. They're like, we want redemption. Pegatron, I'm coming for you. You know, I'm going to make you my you know what. And they were after keeping their belt. Well, little did they know that we had some surprises in store. And we were lucky enough when we were building the Atlanta course that I think it was Muddy Brute had been there prior to us a couple years ago or last season. And they had this amazing warped wall that they left in the woods. And it was pretty much just dumped there. And we found it while we were building our course. And we thought, well, hey, let's see if, like, what is this? Let's pull it out of the woods. So I've got videos of us, like, forklifting it out of the woods. But at this time, it was top secret. So I couldn't make any posts and share any information because we had a secret obstacle. And we get this warp wall set up and had to make it pretty. We put our crest on it. And we actually added more support, changed the face of the plywood, made it so that it was functionable and safe for everybody to use. But when you set up this warp wall, I mean, I think the typical quote-unquote warp wall from, like, American Ninja Warrior and what people build their obstacles to is a 14-foot warp wall.
I believe that's correct. I think Ninja Warrior upped it to 14.5 feet this past season.
Yeah, so this one actually sat at 16 feet tall, but we dropped ropes down to, obviously, like, we weren't really trying to crush y'all initially. But so we had 4 lanes. There were 2 men's and 2 women's. So the women's lanes had a little bit of a longer rope. And then the guys' lane, we basically made it so that the rope hung down to about 14 feet. So it was like the top of a warp wall. And then you had to pull up from there. And it was the second to last obstacle. So you basically came off of Cliffhanger, which was redone for this season. Tracy and myself, actually, Tracy is a metal fabricator along with build crew and my boyfriend. So we actually built and designed a new Cliffhanger for this season for Conquer the Gauntlet.
It's a lot harder, by the way.
Well,
I think so.
Cliffhanger was one of the original CTG obstacles, and it had been at every race for 6 years now. It only missed one venue, and that venue was Louisville, actually, last season. But so it was time it needed to be redone. You know, we needed to make it sturdy and safe, and we wanted to make it bigger and better. So Tracy and I fabricated a new obstacle, still monkey bars. So they're on an upward angle and then a downward angle. But we actually extended it. It was 4 feet longer on each way. So 8 feet longer total across the obstacle. And then there's a couple new twists, quote unquote, to it. Some of the bars, the original obstacle had spinning bars, but it was more just from wear and tear. We made...
They rotated, but not like they rotate now. Like I definitely almost fell off because I grabbed one and I was not ready for it to spin that much, and I was like, ah.
Yeah. So the new Cliffhanger has some spinners, quote unquote, and there might be 3 in a row on some of them. There might be 2 in a row on others, and that's what the beauty of Conquer the Gauntlet is. You have to pay attention. And people started getting wiser to it because you could look at the side of the obstacle and see which one spun based off the way the obstacle was designed. So
yeah, you can see the ones that don't spin. You can see the ones that don't spin. You can see the welds on them securing them.
Exactly. So. And so, like, if you fell once, you got up and you looked at it and you're like, okay, now I see. But anyway, so we had Cliffhanger, which was newer, harder, and that challenged people. And it was, this was 4-mile course, so at about 3.75 miles, maybe, I would say, was Cliffhanger after grueling course. And then after that, if you made it through that, you came up to this ginormous warp wall. And we had it setting down in this, like, mud pit. And unfortunately, Mother Nature got involved. And, we tested the obstacle over and over. And, like, Dave Mainprize, the owner, who's 5'2", 3", I always call him smaller than he is. I don't know.
He's not that short. There's no way. He's like my height. He's like 5'6", I think. Well, I would say he'd be mad if he listened to this, but he doesn't. He doesn't listen to any podcasts. But
I call him pint size. Anyway, so Dave made it and went up the warp wall. He went up it without the ropes, 16 feet tall, went up it. And he's not an elite pro athlete. He doesn't train, so he flies up it. And then, like, Steve Mainprice, his brother, the other owner, who's 6 feet tall. I mean, he's tall, so he goes up it. And we're just trying to show, like, we test the obstacles and we make sure everybody can do it. And then you have Tracy, who is 6'2", 6'3", 200-something pounds, like a bigger, we call him Big Rig. He flies up the obstacle. And then you have Napalm that does it with his boots and cowboy hat. So, like, we want to make sure that everybody could do it while we're testing and building the obstacle. Well, race day comes along, and it was wet, and you start getting mud and dirt and sand on it, and that just adds a whole new element.
And my heart rate is at its max.
Yeah, and of course we were doing it, kind of fresh, not 4 miles into the course. But
every time Dave puts up an obstacle, he's like, "Yeah, it's no problem." I'm like, I've heard it so many times that I know it's going to be a problem. Because he said the same thing. When the first time he put up Pegatron, he's like, "Oh yeah, super easy, I made it across." And I was like, I don't know what. Like, he doesn't train, but he somehow he must be he's like all fast twitch muscle fiber.
Oh yeah.
And he can make it across things where it's like there's like no other person on the planet who doesn't train and can do these things.
It's just crazy. And then you have Napalm that's like, "Well, I can do it, so anybody can do it." And I'm like, Napalm, you are Nathan Palmer. He's like one of those again. He trains, but not like he's just got natural strength and Stockton strong, and he can just go out and do things. I'm like, just because you can do it does not mean the average Joe can do it. So
well, he was a climber for a long time, so a lot of his background's in climbing, so he's got that strength from that. So he doesn't understand why other people physically can't do it because he's been doing it for so long.
But back to the point was that I felt bad / found joy in it and pride because this is our evil, twisted ways that people were coming and they were so excited. They like get through the whole course, and people that had never kelped their belt through Pegatron or through the rig, Tarzan, like the guys, Tarzan is very difficult, and people lose their belts there. They lose it at Pegatron. So many competitors made it through this grueling course, and then they made it through Cliffhanger, and then they get to the warp wall. And again, like you said, poor Jay Flores and Jordan Buscemi were going back and forth a little bit. Like Jay Flores had the lead for a minute, and then him and Jordan were close, neck and neck, and I felt so bad because poor Jay, he gave it his all on that wall, and so did so many others that had their belt up until that point, and then, we took a lot of belts, or people were on the course until they got kicked off as the last competitor because people didn't want to quit, and that's what Conquer the Gauntlet has, the heart and soul that people just come out and, like, they get rocked, and they have fun, and they challenge themselves, but they don't get mad. They don't get angry, and they come back for more and hungrier and stronger. And, yes, that warp wall, it kicked some butts of people, and I was so happy. Like, I've got the live video. I started doing live feeds for the Elite Waves now, and, like, watching you get up it after you and Jay were there. You get up it, and I'm just, like, screaming. I'm so excited. Like, yes, yes. It was awesome. And our teammate, like, Cody was running in 5th place, steadily through the course, and it was his first OCR back this season, and he gets up it, and it was just the excitement after, watching people fail it and then left and right and then going back hours later and seeing those same people still there. I just felt so bad. It was just, I felt bad.
Definitely got to give a shout out to Jason Williams, who was there. He was there the entire day. They ended up kicking him off the course because essentially, we were starting to pack things up.
Yeah,
well, and a lot of heart. Absolutely, a lot of heart
that,
on it.
Posted their GPS from the watch that day.
Yeah,
someone ran 2 miles just running up and down the warp wall.
Yeah. So.
But overall, Conquer the Gauntlet Atlanta was one of. Every race we put on, we're like, this is the best one. This is the best one, and they keep getting better and better. And Atlanta was a great first time event, and the feedback and excitement was amazing, and the competitors and everything was. I loved it and loved seeing you back on the podium and getting the placement changes from that event from the guys and the girls. Jamie Stiles and Ashley Samples were going back and forth, and Lisa Nordorf took second overall, first Masters.
Yep.
It's just I love seeing it, and then the fact that people, unfortunately, that's So we do this. So we set up the Warple, and now our event that we're hosting here in Dallas on June 3rd, that's what I'm here building, is everybody's like, oh, everybody's talking about Atlanta, I can't wait. And it's just like, well, it's a totally different venue. Definitely not like the course in Atlanta. And unfortunately, this one, we don't have the Warple right now because that was kind of like a find, a lucky or unlucky for some find that we now might have to build. Who knows? maybe later in the season we might have a crazy CTG warp wall, but you never know with CTG, and that's the beauty of it. We throw in some random things that just show up one day and then gone the next, or you never know. So it's very exciting, and again, I'm so jealous / love the fact that I'm building, but jealous if I can't run them and compete with you guys out there, because I was very excited to see that happen and go down.
Yeah, one of the things we did at Atlanta, too, was they did a Masters podium for the first time. So I think that was cool to recognize the Masters. I don't think we have any Masters-specific awards yet, besides the Standard Age Group Award that's given out.
Actually, we do the Age Group Award, and then the top Master, male and female, is awarded a free race.
Okay,
so,
yes.
We started that in Atlanta, and we just kind of want to see how it goes. I mean, there's a whole Masters following. I mean, Spartan has had Masters for how long? And I think, Savage Race does it with the age group, and people kept asking. And, I mean, we've had Masters come that have made our top podium. So we wanted to get the others to come and give us a try and show what they can do and show how amazing they still are at that age. And it was great for Atlanta, and we're going to be doing it here. The rest of the season, we're going to try it out, and if it keeps a big success and people want it and come back for more, maybe there will be a money award or another version of the gauntlet or anything cool like that. But, you get top Masters, male and female, does get a free race. So that right there is worth it to me, if you get to go out and have fun and do it again, by all means.
And the Masters male podium only had one guy on it, and the Masters female podium had 2 females on it. So if you're a Masters athlete and looking for a podium placement and think you have what it takes to complete all the obstacles, I would sign up for a CTG, head out there, and as long as you can finish all the obstacles, based off of Atlanta's results, you'll essentially almost guaranteed a spot on the podium. So.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure will change as the year progresses and we get more Masters athletes out there. But open spots right now. So come check it out.
Come and get them, y'all.
And,
that brings us to, I guess, after Atlanta, you were done until Philly, correct?
Yes. So we are pushing the limit on time, and we were planning on talking about Toughest Mudder Atlanta and Toughest Mudder Philly, because I did both. And Brenna did Toughest Mudder Philly, but I think we're going to have to save that for another episode or another time.
Y'all can hear all the good stuff, because I got stories for Philly.
Yeah. So I'd say with that, we're gonna call it at this point. But we will record another one covering Toughest Mudder Atlanta and Toughest Mudder Philly, kind of some lessons learned from that. I know Atlanta was still had the 2-loop format. Philly went down to a 1-loop format with more obstacles.
Philly was actually my first 8-hour, actually, other than Rat Race last year. This was my first major endurance event. So it'll be exciting to talk about, to give some people some insight for someone that is new to it or scared of it because of that. So we'll definitely have to touch base on that in another later episode. So everybody keep an eye out for that coming up.
Right on. Okay, so I think that's it for tonight. We're going to call it. I still need to go. I need to go for a quick run and get my legs a little loose. Still recovering from Philly.
What time? Where are you?
It's 9:30. It's still pretty early, and the casino's open all night. So
there you go. Yeah,
good.
Go for a run. Get you some money. I have to go to bed because we are unloading a semi tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Well, that sounds fun.
Oh yeah.
Not. I do not envy the build crew. I'll just say it. No, do not envy that at all. That's not
it's different.
Not my bag.
Yeah, and that's why I'm glad I'm not racing, because I tried last year. I did build crew and racing, and wow, so exhausting enough. But so do you have any quick shout outs or anything you want to give some love to?
Let's see. see what we got going on. I'm racing. Well, by the time this comes out, I'll have raced it already. Dirt Runners Midwest Mayhem 24-hour race outside Chicago. It's part of my big plan to do. I'm calling it ultra-ocr Grand Slam. So I was planning to do every 24-hour OCR in the world in 2017, which was 4 at the time I said I was going to do it. Actually, it was 5 at the time I said I was going to do it. Then it became 4, and now it looks like it might be up to 6. So I don't know. We'll see. Freaking, yeah, I was like, all right, I got my race schedule planned, and then in one day, Shale Health said they were putting their 24-hour race back on. It's the same day as Toughest Mudder Chicago. And then Spartan teased a 24-hour race that might be taking place in Iceland, which, like,
oh my gosh.
Which is, I don't know if I'm going to go do that because it was, I hadn't really planned for that, and kind of messes with my schedule.
Look out, Iceland. Evan's coming for you.
Yeah. So I'm not saying I'm not doing it, but I'm not saying I am doing it. So we'll see. And I already signed up for Toughest Mudder Chicago, and I did well at Philly and Atlanta, and I want to do well at the third one. And CBS Sports has been at all the Toughest Mudders, so I think that's currently a priority. So
there you go.
We'll talk about that later, though. So Grand Slam Ultra OCR. Check out that article I wrote on Mud Run Guide. Also have a couple articles about the Olympics that are currently out on Mud Run Guide. I check those out. And let's see what else we got. Pick up a copy of my book, Strength and Speed's Guide to Elite Obstacle Course Racing, if you haven't done so. I think that's it. Brenna, what do you got?
I can piggyback on the Mud Run Guide. I just want to give a shout out because they featured me in their series. It's the Badass Women in OCR, so I'm very honored because there are so many women out there that are kicking butt, and I was featured as their last one in the series, I believe. So that article just recently, by the time you listen to this, it's been out probably a week or two when this comes out. So thank you, Mud Run Guide, and everybody for that. And a quick shout out, I don't know if y'all have heard of OMPU. They are a compression and clothing company, and I love them. They started, and I heard about them from the Swedish team that came over for OCRWC, and they now have a U.S. Line and amazing compression gear, leggings, guys and girls. They're just functional. They're comfortable. They actually have OCR-specific gloves. So I'm shouting out to them because they are giving me a pair of gloves to review and give them some feedback on. So love companies that, want to get feedback from the actual athletes that use them. So OMPU USA, check them out, and I promise you'll love it. Everything about them, customer service, and their gear is amazing. So worth looking into.
All right, I think that's it. Thanks for listening, and we will see you hopefully next week, as long as we are not too busy. We're in the middle of race season, so things kind of get crazy with recording episodes. So
thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll catch you soon.